else was in sight. No drunken bystanders braying at each other in the aftermath of a fight. No over-made-up women shouting the odds at passers-by. No underage drinkers pausing to gawp as they cut across the square to the decent kebab shop up along the top road. Both taxi rank and bus stop remained empty. The only people to be seen were Ricky Wilson, slumped awkwardly on the hard stone flags, his wife leaning over him, stemming the flow of blood that leaked from his stomach with her jacket. Their children stood around them, motionless. Cars continued their journey along Chorley Road, their headlights illuminating the figures on the ground, but none of them slowed down. "Fucking great," the first officer on the scene had muttered to his colleague as they had approached Wilson. They'd been nearing the end of their shift, knew instinctively they'd be held up until the immediate area was secured. He looked at his watch and cursed, tried not to step in the blood pooling around the man lying by his feet. He turned back to his colleague once more. "Better call it in," he hissed. "And where the fuck are the paramedics?" In the hours that had elapsed, Coupland had worked his way through the pissed and those aspiring to it at the bar Wilson and his family had been drinking in before the assault had taken place, the bar where his wife's bag had been stolen. The Sportsman was a concrete pub made to look better by giving it a theme. Football scarves and kits adorned the walls alongside signed photos of United players. A large TV screen was turned permanently to the sports channel. There were 2 bouncers on the door. Both were dumpy and shaven-headed, black suits and open-neck shirts. They wore earpieces to alert them to any trouble. Coupland stifled a smile. Having been in the bar a couple of times himself, all in the line of duty, of course, and recognizing several punters whose collars he had felt at one time or other, he wondered, just for a moment, the purpose of the doormen, to keep the undesirables out or in. Coupland's trip to the hospital had been in vain. His request to question the victim had been blocked by the consultant on call, who informed him imperiously that his patient was about to undergo emergency surgery. The knife blade had pierced Wilson's bowel, and if they didn't operate quickly, peritonitis would set in. Coupland attempted to speak to the man's distraught wife, Melanie, but a brief word with her told him he was wasting his time. All she knew was what she had seen, that her man fell down and didn't get up again. One look at her now, huddled with her kids in the shabby relatives' room, nodding at a male nurse who tried to explain what was happening, told him he wouldn't get much more from her tonight. The couple's children, a thick-set boy with attitude and 2 shapeless girls, sat numbly either side of her, vacant behind the eyes as they stared at the nurse's moving lips, until a defeated look settled upon them. In the circumstances, the best thing he could do was give them some space. Moving out from beneath the entrance canopy, he stood away from the other nicotine addicts and positioned himself beside a low red brick wall surrounding the hospital's perimeter. An NHS sign behind him directed visitors to the short-stay car park, and his gaze followed the arrow to a bank of hastily crammed-in cars, abandoned by relatives too stressed about their loved ones to give a toss about leaving the car park later. He had parked his own car around the corner in the long-stay car park near maternity, although, with hindsight, he couldn't be any more certain the men who rushed there in the middle of the night weren't equally as stressed, despite the notion that the birth of your offspring was supposed to be a joyous occasion. Overweight and fast approaching 40, Coupland had the kind of physique Russian shot-putters would die for, with none of the muscle. Hair still dark but starting to thin, and eyes that had seen more than they should. He sighed as he smoked to the end of his cigarette and threw it down onto the pavement, grinding it into the tarmac with the toe of his shoe, wishing for the millionth time that getting rid of scum could be as easy. Mindless scum that preyed on a hard-working man as he enjoyed a night out with his family. He thought about going back inside to question Wilson's family, reckoned that he'd get no sense out of anyone until Ricky came out of surgery.